And welcome back to Blake's Den. This is my 2005 Hyundai Santa Fe 2.7 V6, and in this video I'm going to change the front brake pads and investigate squeaky brake at the rear. So let's make a start. You don't know, this car was laid up for about 7 years unused, and in 2020 I got it back on the road and I've been using it as my sort of daily driver ever since, and it's been fine. And I never really did anything with the brakes on it other than freeing off a handbrake on the rear, which was stuck. But when I changed the wishbone the other day, I noticed that the brake pads were getting quite worn on the front here. So being an automatic, being a heavy car, it does get through brake pads quite quickly. So I thought, yeah, I'll get those changed. An easy win. I also said I was going to get rid of this car, but yeah, it's still here because it's kind of still doing everything it needs to do. So first things first, I'm going to jack the car up, axle stand underneath, whip the wheel off, and then we'll see what we're dealing with. With the wheel off, you can see the caliper and you can see the pad here. And yeah, there's not a lot left on that pad, and I think the one on the inside face is possibly even less. You can't really see it very well. So it should be fairly straightforward to get these changed. So what I've got here, I've got a 14mm socket on the caliper slider bolt, and I'm just undoing the bottom one first. Just unscrews, and then I should be able to pivot this caliper up out the way. There we are, and then I can just pop the pads out and fit the new ones in. That's fairly straightforward. So there's a better look at the pistons. Obviously they need to be pushed back in. There's kind of two ways you can do this. You can either put a clamp on it or push it in with a lever. Some people prefer to crack the bleed nipple off to release the pressure. Yeah, I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens really. These, I can feel like I can move them a little bit by hand, so they don't feel particularly stiff or seized. This car, despite it being 19 years old at the time of filming, is actually relatively low miles. There's only 46,000 miles on it. So hopefully these all go back in easy. To wind the pistons in, I've just put a G-clamp on there. I've just put a socket inside the piston just so I don't have to wind the G-clamp in so far. So you can actually see what's happening as you wind one in, the other one comes back out. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this one in as far as it will go with the G-clamp, and then I'll leave that in position. And then we'll get the top one pushed in. To get the top one, I can actually just push in by hand a little bit, but what I've got, just to help me out a bit, crowbar or pry bar, whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to get it in the position where you can see what's going on. So we'll just, there we are. We'll just push that all the way back in, and yeah, that's all the way in now. So what we'll do then, take the clamp back off. They were moving dead easy, really freely. Quite happy with that. Take my socket out before I forget, and then we can take the pads off, give everything a clean up, and then we can reassemble. So let's see. Yeah, I mean there's a bit left on there actually. They're not as bad as I thought they were. Well, that one isn't. The inside one is a little bit worse. Let me just get the pry bar in there to get that out. It's easier if you just use a screwdriver or something like that. Well, that's the backing plate just come off, of the anti-vibration plate. Yeah, that one's a bit more down to the limit. So yeah, definitely needed doing. Before I reassemble, just taking a moment just to Give everything a quick once over with a wire brush. Clean off any dirt and debris. Not that there's actually that much on here. Good. So I've got my new pads. They're Eicher. Not sure how you pronounce that. The one with the tab on, that goes on the back. Obviously that is the wrong way around though. That's for the other side. So what I need is that one there. That one goes on the back. And then this one goes on the front. And before I put them on, I'm just going to put a little bit of copper slip grease on these edges here, which is where they rub against here and here. And I'm going to put some copper slip on the back as well, just to try and stop any vibration issues or stop them sticking to the caliper pistons. So there you go, that's the new pads in. Very important that you don't contaminate the face of them. That would be bad. So we'll get those in, we'll pull the caliper around, and yeah, it might just need a bit of teasing to get it into position. And then we can get that bottom bolt in. It was simply just caught on the slide pin assembly. So actually we'll put a bit of copper slip on that bolt whilst it's out. Always good. Help the next person who buys this car if I decide to sell it. I'm half tempted to actually just keep it. It's not worth anything. If I traded it in, I'm not going to get a lot of money. So I might just park it up for another 7 years and see what happens. Okay, I'll get that bolt tightened up and then we'll repeat on the other side. Passenger side was completely uneventful too. Those were the pads that came off, so yeah, they were getting down a bit. So probably had a bit more life in them, a bit more than I thought, but they needed doing all the same. Right, I'll put this all back together and then we can give it a quick test and see how it feels. That's what I remember. One good check to do once you've got the wheel on, check that nothing's binding. I've got this in park and it's 4-wheel drive, so it's not going to turn fully, but it's obviously got a bit of play in it. But that means that all the brakes have gone back together fine. And I did the same on the other side as well. Right, I'm going to drop this to the ground and then I need to tighten up all these wheel bolts, make sure they're really tight. Well, not really tight, but tight. Check for brake fluid and then we can take it for a test. If the wheel nut's tight, I can then look at the brake fluid, which is now over full. So there's the max line there. Why is that? Well, the volume behind the pistons we've just pushed back in is occupied by fluid, and that's forced that up to the top. So I'm going to siphon a little bit of that out and we can test the brakes. Well, drained that down using a pipette and that's back down to the level required. So we can put the cap on to stop any dirt from getting in there. We're now inside the car. Before I even drive it anywhere, I want to pump up the brake pedal. So pedal really soft and gone to the floor, and then it's firming up because that's taken up all that space which was left over when I pushed the pistons in and the calipers went on. There was an air gap, so it's taken up that air gap. So let's see how well it drives. See, I'm on my private driveway here, so everything's fine. They need, yeah, a little bit soft. They'll need a bit of bedding in, but it's stopping the car fine and going forwards. The brakes have always felt super soft on this car. I don't know if it's just a characteristic of the car or what, but yeah, they feel absolutely fine. So stopping the car, which is the main thing. Let's try a bit of emergency stop. Yeah, seems fine. Great. Right, now I'm going to see if I can find out where the squeaking noise is coming from at the back. I don't know if you heard it there, but there was a definite squeaking sound coming from the back. Sort of typical of the handbrake binding, except the handbrake isn't binding. Let me tell you a story. Handbrake's off, and let me put the car into neutral. I should be able to freely push this. Yeah, there's absolutely no binding at all on that handbrake. I stopped using the handbrake for a bit, just putting it into park, and it made no difference. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on. The handbrake on this car, it operates independently of the caliper. It's actually inside the, like, there's a little drum on the disc and the handbrake's in there. I mean, it could just be something as simple as a bit of dirt or a stone in there. I can see that the heat guard's a bit bashed. It might just be that. What I find is if I drive round the left or right hand corner at any sort of speed, the noise is there. And if you pull the handbrake on like halfway, so it's not really doing anything, the noise goes away. So it could just be something corrosion inside that drum or a spring loose or something like that. So let's whip the wheel off and have a look. With the wheel off, everything sort of looks normal as expected. Plenty of, well, not plenty, but there's some meat on the pads. Obviously the back doesn't do much. The wheel turns. It's a bit hard to turn, but that's because if you look underneath, it's turning the other wheel the same way because of a limited slip differential, and it's trying to obviously turn the four-wheel drive system and everything, so it's quite hard even with the car neutral. So nothing untowards there. I think what I'll do, I'm going to whip off this caliper, and then I'm going to pull off this brake drum slash disc, and we'll see what's going on. I've just taken the caliper off there, exact same process as the front, and I've taken the carrier off as well, which is just held in by two bolts. You didn't have to take that bit off first. It was easier to see what was going on with these the caliper retaining bolts. So as you can see, you've got two screws which hold this drum on, and fingers crossed they should come undone easily. Need a different screwdriver. Oh no, there we are. If I just wedge that one in, they will go. I have had these out before, so once those are off, the drum should come off. With those screws out, this should now be free, but because you've got effectively a brake drum on the inside, it might be a bit tricky to get it moving. I know last time I had to properly brake with a hammer. So let's just see if there's any movement by putting the crowbar on it. No, not really. Okay, I think we'll have to apply some force. Always, typically, I did this off camera and it just came off. Crowbar behind, managed to prise that, and it's now looser. It's still not quite come off, but at least it started. I can now prise it and get it this way. There we are. There's the drum on the inside. Bit of dirt and debris, and I'll bring you in to look at the brakes. Here's the handbrake assembly. It all looks fine to me. You know, there's plenty of meat left on those shoes. All the springs are still attached. Everything's looking as it should be. It's even got the factory markings on still. So I can't see anything wrong there. What I can see is this dust shield is sort of very badly corroded and flopping around. Now, the issue I've got is it makes a sound going around corners. I'm wondering if just the force of going around the corners is enough to just move this, and it's causing this to rub on the brake disc. But you'd think there'd be witness marks if that was the case. And I can't see any marks on here, which suggests it's been rubbing. Let's have a look on the back of the disc. Yeah, it's nothing obvious. So, okay. Well, I'm happy just to live with the problem. I just turned the radio up. At least they now know that there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the brakes. I'm confident it's this side. For completeness, I should really check the other side, but I'm sort of 99.9% certain it's this side, which is making the noise. So what I'll do, I'll just give everything a quick clean up, and then we'll put it back together. When you put this drum back on, it's very important that you put it on the right way, because there's two holes here, and you see they aren't asymmetrically spaced. So there's basically one way it'll go and one way only. Yeah, if you've got it wrong, you just take it off, turn it, and put it back on again. Well, I've taken that for a little test drive, and absolutely no squeaking at all. I don't know if you heard it in that first clip I filmed before I did the work. It was definitely a ee, ee, ee. Nothing at all now, so it might have just been dirt in there or that heat shield. So yeah, I'll take that as a win. even if it comes back, I know that there's nothing wrong with the brakes on that side, and I'm confident it's not the other side, so I think we'll just turn the volume up and ignore it. But thank you for watching. I hope you found that video useful. If you did find it useful, press that like button below. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing, and you'll be notified of all my latest videos as soon as they come out. Also, if you've got any questions, comments, anything like that, drop them below. I respond to all of my comments. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.